Hi, and welcome back
Wait. Hi there. Welcome back to the Daily's Double Shot. I'm Teresa Jackson.
And I'm David Chrisman. This is our last episode of the year with original content, so keep your eyes peeled for some cool stories.
First, we kick things off with the in-depth tour of the maintenance tunnels running underneath the university.
We learn a little bit about the annual Master of Fine Arts dance performance.
Alan Yu gives us some perspective on international relations with Russia in You and the Nation.
Stuart Marlantis shows some free media playing software on Tech Talk.
David Chrisman discusses some of his favorite genre films on Video Focus.
Film Focus. And lastly, Andre Stackhouse talks to UW student and laser tag world champion Eric Clapp.
All of this and more
on the Daily's Double Shot.
Ooh, what is that? Chinese.
Yeah.
I'll see you there. Okay.
Did you know there are tunnels running underneath campus?
I did not until today. I'd like to go check them out, but people generally aren't allowed to go down there.
Lucky for us, our crew got to take a tour of these mysterious tunnels.
Cool. Roll it.
All across campus, you may stumble across the occasional grate in the ground, offering a brief, dark glimpse into the tangle of infrastructure beneath the university. There is, in fact, an extensive utility tunnel system running for miles beneath the campus. All these tunnels can be traced back to a central point, one of the most important buildings for students. The power plant at the UW has a humble exterior, but houses a massive maze of pipes, wires, valves, meters, and gear. Mark Kirschenbaum, the Assistant Director of Campus Utilities, is largely responsible for making sure that the plant and tunnels run in tip-top shape. He was kind enough to show us around.
We are here primarily to provide heat to the campus in the form of steam. So we have big boilers, we burn natural gas, boil water, collect the steam, and we send it out to the campus through the tunnel system to be distributed to the buildings. And in the summer, we not only make steam, but we also make chilled water, about 42, 43 degree Fahrenheit water that we send to about 50 buildings that provide air conditioning.
We head off to see where heat is made in the belly of one of 5 metallic beasts, a giant boiler with a massive flame.
Okay, so this is boiler number 7. This is the newest boiler in the power plant installed in 2000. And we're gonna go down to the next level and actually look inside this boiler so you can see the actual combustion process. But look at the boiler construction. There's thousands of water-filled tubes inside absorbing the heat of the flame. The flame's about 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. By the time that gas leaves this boiler and goes to the stack, it's down to about 260 degrees Fahrenheit. It's absorbed all that energy, all that heat into the water to make the heating steam to keep the campus going.
Mark then took us out of the power plant to show us how heat is transferred to the rest of the university through the tunnel system referred to as Lower Campus.
Okay, so this is where we're going to enter the tunnel system. Earlier I talked about how the power plant produces utilities like steam and compressed air. Then we transport them through the tunnel system to provide service to the buildings. So this is one of our entrances. You can see the service is running along the side of the tunnel, and we will just march our way through. You're not going to see much moving, but if you can just envision in every pipe you happen to be looking at, there's motion. If this piping was clear, it'd be a massive movement everywhere. Water, steam, air, chemicals, all to support the university. You've gone 10 feet, you've seen the entire tunnel. Well, you've gone 100 feet, and you pretty much really have seen how the tunnels are. Very quiet, kind of warm and muggy, as you have probably felt. And the only time it's not nice or comfortable is when there's a leak. And when there is a leak, it's very loud, very hot, and definitely an area to avoid. This is one of the reasons we really don't like students to be down here unescorted, because this is quite a large leak, very loud, very hot.
We stepped gingerly around the leak and continued on our way down the tunnel, up some stairs, and finally into light. We were glad for Mark's help on our journey, while Mark seemed satisfied to know that nobody was hurt. Between the dark, steam and gas leaks, the possibility of heat stroke, and very high voltage cables, the tunnel system takes an expert to safely navigate. Safety is of the largest concern, and a complex security and surveillance system is in place to ensure that nobody endangers themselves by trespassing. You may not be able to see the tunnels for yourself, but next time you walk around campus, try to feel the thrum of the system below you.
I've been here for years, and I didn't even know those tunnels existed. That's awesome.
Yeah. Up next, we learn about the Master of Fine Arts dance performance.
The Masters in Fine Arts Concert is an annual performance UW's graduate students in dance put on. We talked to several undergraduate students about the process before performing the dances on stage.
I started dancing spring quarter here at UW and I really enjoyed it. My first class was modern and the teachers were really inspiring. This year I actually took Ryan's modern class, winter quarter, and it really made me want to audition for MFA. Our piece is mostly about like groups and duets and trios and us communicating together.
We went through a lot of movement, and so the first rehearsals, my brain was crazy trying to remember everything. And it was really physically difficult because it's a really energetic piece. But I think that was the point. He wanted us at the end to be exhausted. And he wanted that energy on stage of having us by the end of the dance. Part of it is supposed to be like symbolically like throwing up. And he's like, at this point you should feel like you're throwing up because you are dancing so hard. So the energy is part of it. That physical exertion is part of the point, I think, for him.
This year the show was named Collaborations to reflect the amount of work done by not only the dance department, but also drama design students.
The months going into it, like you're left with what feels like a few exhilarating moments on stage performing. This has been a really fun experience overall. I'm in Ryan's piece and he's a great guy, and every weekend when we rehearse, it's always fun, it's always exciting. And I would say like the whole process has been very, very fun.
This year's program featured everything from walls to red wigs. Students had experience ranging from just 4 or 5 months to many years. Many say they will continue on next year.
I like working in pairs and trios. I feel like just the bond is really cool. I would do it again next year. It's just a good experience if you want to like improve in dancing.
I really like being part of the graduate students' learning process. And like I said, it was a very personal piece, and so I felt a lot of responsibility to do it justice and make it turn out the way he envisioned it, because I know it's important.
What's up next?
Next up, Alan Yu gives us his opinion on a recent development between the United States, Russia, and Iran.
Hi, I'm Alan Yu, and you're watching You and the Nation. In this segment, we discuss current events. Today, I want to talk to you about U.S.-Russia relations. The U.S. is currently planning to build a missile defense shield in Europe, which it claims is to protect against potential threats from nations unfriendly to the U.S. Of particular interest is Iran, which has constantly voiced threats towards the West. Part of the U.S.'s plan calls for deploying missiles capable of intercepting ballistic missiles to Poland, a country right on Russia's border. Russia has responded to such a plan by stating that if the U.S. goes ahead with the deployment of missiles to countries near their border, they will place more powerful warheads on their ballistic missiles, as well as place missiles along their side of the border to specifically target the U.S. missile defense system. I really can't believe what's unfolding. We have before us an increase in tensions between the U.S. and Russia, pushing the two nations further away from friendship and cooperation. Russia regards the missile shield near their border as a threat to their nation's security, eroding their nuclear deterrent. However, one could view Russia's fears as completely irrational. Let me explain. Like Russia, the U.S. doesn't want another Cold War. No one wants to go down that road again. No one wants to be constantly afraid the other is going to annihilate them at any time. It is very unlikely that the US will ever use the missile shield against Russia because it is extremely unlikely that the two will ever go to war. Why? Because both the US and Russia still has nukes, not only on land, but also in submarines at sea. If the US and Russia go to war, it is unlikely that either side will be able to take out all the other countries' nukes before they have a chance to launch. This is especially true with both nations' submarines out to sea carrying nuclear ballistic missiles. Thus, if one nation fires at the other nation will for sure return fire. And we all know what the end will be. A world disaster, with millions dead, and the winner being neither the US nor Russia. That's why neither side escalated to this stage during the Cold War. They didn't do so then, and they won't do so now or in the future because the nuclear deterrent still stands. And that's why the missile shield isn't a threat to Russia. What all of this shows is that while the Cold War is over and the US and Russia are no longer wanting to kill each other, Russia still has remnants of distrust from that terrible era. It is up to the current and future generations of both countries to build better working relations and to strengthen ties with each other. We must do this for mutual and world survival. I'm Alan Yu, and thank you for watching You and the Nation. If you have a topic that you'd like the Double Shot to cover, please email us at doubleshot@dailyuw.com.
Thanks, Alan. Trey?
Stuart Milanis talks about media playing software on Tech Talk.
Is that a movie?
Yeah.
I love movies.
The last Tech Talk of the school year was prompted by some friends of mine. They often ask me what software they should use to play media files, so today I'll discuss some popular media players and suggest a few of my favorites. With every installation of Microsoft Windows, you get Windows Media Player. It didn't used to be terribly notable, but now it has a pretty nice interface and good organizational tools. Windows Media Player keeps getting better and better, and Microsoft seems very interested in making it shine. Perhaps the most popular alternative media player is VLC. It's free and open source and plays almost any file you throw at it. It even does its best to play broken and corrupted files. VLC doesn't include significant organizational tools, but does include a lot of extra features like streaming, and it's something I use daily. iTunes is an Apple-created media player built specifically for its iProducts. It works pretty well on Macs, but it's not too great on Windows machines. It does, however, include an extensive media store. On Windows, iTunes is prone to freezing and glitching and is unfortunately very bloated. Winamp is a Windows-only media player with an extensive history and a dedicated fan base. Winamp isn't a bad media player, but the interface is a little bit complex and confusing. Adding to the list of Windows-only media players is Fubar 2000. It has a very modular design, and you can replace the interface completely if you don't like it. Fubar 2000 is a nice player and has a lot of fans because of its extendability. Amarok is a media player originally developed for Linux, but has since been made cross-platform. It has an integrated music store and discovery features like Last.fm and Wikipedia. It also has integrated lyrics. Amarok's organizational tools are nice, and the player is pretty strong in general, although it can be a tad glitchy. Songbird is a media player developed by Mozilla, the same team behind Firefox. It is extremely customizable and powerful, and has great organizational tools. It's simply good at its job. KM Player is similar to VLC. It plays almost anything. As for my recommendations, I'd suggest keeping VLC around for daily use. It's especially good for video files. I actually use Windows Media Player a lot on PCs, and iTunes works well on Macs, but for a cross-platform player, I'd suggest Songbird. Thanks for joining me on Tech Talk this school year. I hope I made your tech life a little bit smoother and more informed. Have a great summer.
Thanks, Stuart. I'll be sure to check out some of those.
Up next is Film Focus. I'm not even wearing my suspenders.
Hopefully, Dave will talk about some of his favorite genre films in Film Focus.
Hello, I'm David Chrisman, and welcome to the last episode of Film Focus before next school year. One of the questions I often get asked is what my favorite film is. And I thought I'd share with you today, not my favorite film, but rather a few of them. Once again, I find myself in the position of having to narrow down what I share with you. While I could simply tell you what my favorite films are, that's something I like to keep to myself unless people ask me in person. Instead, I think I'll share with you in a way that might get you to watch something that you haven't before. There are a lot of genres of films, so I thought I'd give you my favorite films from a variety of them. Let's go with horror films, comedies, musicals, and the good old standby, the action movie. Let's start out with what everybody knows, the action movie. There are definitely a lot of them, but my favorite by far has to be Equilibrium, directed by Kurt Wimmer and starring Christian Bale. The film takes place in a dystopian future where the population is controlled by a drug that blocks emotion and is policed by agents known as grammaton clerics. When cleric John Preston, played by Bale, misses a dose of the drug, he begins to feel emotion and fights to take down the system he helped enforce. While the acting is decent, where Equilibrium really shines are the action scenes. Mixing hand-to-hand, fast-paced gunplay, and Matrix-style camera work, this movie really stands out. Now let's move to the oft-maligned genre of the musical. I'll admit, even I struggle sometimes with musicals. But there is one that I really love, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Directed by Tim Burton and starring Johnny Depp as the titular main character, and based off the Stephen Sondheim musical of the same name, this film is a wonderful adaptation of the dark comedy. Even though it's a musical, I never feel like I'm forced out of the story like in other films. The story follows Benjamin Barker, aka Sweeney Todd, as he seeks revenge on a corrupt judge, played by Alan Rickman, for stealing his wife and exiling him from England. I have to admit, this isn't for everybody due to how dark the comedy can be at some points. But if you're a fan of the black comedy and are looking for a way to enter into the world of musicals, you can't go wrong with Sweeney Todd. Now to the horror film. My favorite, and one featuring probably one of the most well-known characters in the genre, Silence of the Lambs. Directed by Jonathan Demme, the plot follows FBI trainee Clarice Starling, Jodie Foster, as she hunts down serial killer Buffalo Bill. Though this is an interesting enough plot, where Silence of the Lambs really shines is through the cannibalistic Hannibal Lecter, who Starling must speak with in order to get the necessary clues to hunt down Buffalo Bill. Lecter, played by Sir Anthony Hopkins, is easily one of the most horrifying characters in modern film. The role is simply inspired, and every time he's on screen, you can feel an aura of terror emanating from Hopkins' amazing performance. Finally, let's finish up with my favorite comedy, and one that goes back to the time of classic Hollywood, Bringing Up Baby. Starring Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn, this is a classic of screwball comedies. It all starts when paleontologist David, Cary Grant, tries to get a $1 million donation for his museum, but ends up bumping into the well-intentioned Susan, and things just snowball from there. Especially once Susan's pet leopard, Baby, gets involved. The writing is tight, the camera work is good, and the magnetism between the stars is palpable. When I want a good comedy, I always go to Bringing Up Baby. So there we go, a few of my favorite things. Silence of the Lambs, with Sir Anthony Hopkins' legendary performance as Hannibal Lecter. Sweeney Todd, with the wonderful music of Stephen Sondheim's Broadway musical and Tim Burton's unique style. Equilibrium, with its elaborately choreographed action sequences. And finally, there's Bringing Up Baby, with the witty banter of Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. These aren't my favorite films of all time, but they are up there. Obviously, I haven't been able to cover every genre there is, but I hope I've given you a sense of what I personally enjoy. If you're looking for something in one of the genres, I recommend that you check these films out. You might like them or not, but there's something to try. As for my truly favorite films, if you bump into me sometime, feel free to ask me what they are. I hope you've enjoyed the past year. I wish you much enjoyment watching movies over the summer, and I'll see you next year on Film Focus.
David? Oh well. Up next, Andre Stackhouse will interview
Laser tag world champion Eric Clapp.
Hey there, I'm Andre Stackhouse, and earlier I had the privilege to talk to Eric Clapp, a UW student who has just served the US on his second World Championship Laser Quest team. Let's check it out. First of all, thanks for being here today, Eric.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me, when did you first get into? It's laser tag, right?
It's Laser Quest. There's two in Washington, one in Federal Way, one in Spokane. My sister said that I should have my birthday party at Laser Quest, and I did. I was, I think, 10 years old at the time. It's just something fun to do, but I didn't get into the tournaments until 2005 when I figured out there was a regional team, tried out for the team, and then the regional tournament was in Spokane.
And can you speak a little bit, before we get too far into anything else, about the differences between laser quest and laser tag?
Laser tag is just the overarching game itself. Laser quest is a specific type. They have there are a whole bunch of variations of the game. There's, you've probably seen people in the quad with their own laser tag equipment. There's other things like Ultrazone or Photon or Qzar or Lasertron. So basically it's just one of many different types of laser tag, laser quest being the most competitive.
Let's say I'm someone who's never heard of laser tag, never heard of laser quest before. How would you describe the game to someone like that?
It's essentially you just go in, you get a poncho with a laser strap to it. You have 7 sensors you can be hit in the front, the back, either shoulder, either side of the laser, or down the center of the laser. If you get shot, you go down, like your pack shuts off for 5 seconds, comes back up. Games are usually 8 minutes long, and then the team with the most points at the end of the game wins the game.
You started, you said, for your 11th birthday?
I think I was around there, yeah.
11th birthday. What was it that compelled you to take this forward from, just a birthday party to something that you do all the time?
Just sort of a slippery slope. I had fun playing at the birthday party. After that, I had met some of the members. They said, you should practice with us for the national team. Just like, I didn't even know there was a national team. Most people don't know there's a competitive side to this, so it was just something fun that I decided to pursue.
And can you speak a bit about how things changed when you started off doing this very recreationally, and it's become a competitive thing for you? How did things change?
When you get into the competitive, like if you're playing non-competitive, people take it like paintball or airsoft, where they're trying to sneak around, shoot, run away kind of thing. When you get into the competitive side, it's more about protecting your sensors and trying to tag as many people before you go down. So you'll see people wiggling around, moving their sensors, pumping their laser up and down, and it's just a lot more active, a lot more just physically exerting.
And what kind of skills does it take to be good at laser tag, or laser quest? I should say laser quest.
It's a lot of accuracy. It's like movement is important. Being in physical shape helps. Endurance, they're 8-minute games, and they can get pretty intense, so you can get winded pretty easily, but I think the biggest thing is accuracy.
As a player, what do you think separates you from all the other laser quest players in the world?
I think of myself as a very versatile player. I'm able to play, because a lot of centers have towers that you can go up, they have ramps, they have grates you can shoot through. Some people play on the floor, some people play on the ramp, some people play in confined boxes, some people play out in the open in front of everyone, and I've proven that I can play pretty much any of those positions.
Can you speak a bit about, I guess, your competitive accomplishments? And start at the beginning and then get to the...
Start at the beginning. A regional team for Spokane, my first major competitive tournament. We got 5th in the Western region that year. There's 4 regions, North, South, East, West. So we took our team, the top 5 teams from each region qualified for the national tournament. So we took that team. That was the first time since 2001 that our team had made the national tournament, and we ended up getting 20th that year. Over the course of a few years, we got some new players in, got some of the other players better, and we were able to finally get 3rd place in 2009. That's the best we've ever done at a national competition. Recently, April was the 2012 World Challenge of Laser Quest, and USA won. I was on that team. This is the 2nd World Challenge in a row that I've won for the US.
So I just want to make sure I understand correctly. That means that the US is effectively the world champion for Laser Quest.
Best team in the world.
You were on that team. Mm-hmm. It's a team of, you said 8 people, right?
The World Challenge is 6 people and potentially an alternate.
What is it about laser tag that you really like, that keeps you coming back to it and working hard?
The people. Honestly, the people that I met at my center were really great people. They become some of my best friends. the people that I made outside of the game through the tournaments are also really cool people.
Do you have any pre-tournament or pre-game rituals or, lucky pieces of equipment or anything like that?
I got a pair of purple UW basketball shorts that I usually wear.
Represent. Go Dogs. You've been on a world champion team twice. What are your goals for laser tag looking forward?
I'm looking more at the national level now for representing Federal Way. 2009 was the year that we got 3rd place. Since then, we've got 4th place 2 consecutive times. I'd like to try to get into the finals match for once. Be a pretty fun accomplishment, but I'm not going to shake my head at winning the world championship 2 times. It's pretty fun representing the USA.
Do you have any amusing stories or anecdotes that have come up through laser tag? Laser quest, sorry.
I imagine I'm a really frustrating person. In the maze, a couple of times people have gotten physically angry at me because I tag them and then just sit there smirking and talk smack. Not supposed to do that, but...
Do you have a little bit of notoriety for that? Do people know you for that?
Yeah. I've sort of died down since I was younger. When I was 16 or 17, it's probably when I was at my worst.
If I was someone who maybe saw this segment and thought, wow, Laser Quest sounds like a cool thing to do, what would you say to someone like that? What would you tell them about getting into it and all that?
The first thing that I do, the Laser Quest closest is the Laser Quest in Federal Way. I'd suggest going to lock-ins. That's how I started, learning the different styles of games, and then if you feel comfortable with that, coming to a member's practice and try your hand at the competitive level, see if you can still hang in. It's not for everyone, and if you can stick it out, it's a really fun activity.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us, Eric. I wish you good luck on all your future tournaments and all that.
Thank you for having me.
Eric graduates this June, but keep your eyes open for his future accomplishments.
Thanks for watching, guys.
We've got one more episode coming up before the school year ends, so make sure you tune in 2 weeks from now to watch our recap episode, where we take the best segments from the quarter.
In the meantime, you can watch our shows on Friday at 9:30 p.m. and Saturdays at 7 p.m.
Or on youtube.com/thedaily.
I'm Teresa Jackson.
And I'm David Crispin. We'll see you next time
on The Daily's Double Shot.